And you're live, Dave, so whenever you're ready.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are meeting tonight under extraordinary circumstances. Our community, along with communities around the country and the world, have been observing social distancing and other health safety measures to slow the progress of COVID-19 pandemic for many weeks now. To allow normal or near normal operations of city government functions to continue, the governor of New York has declared a disaster emergency and has issued multiple executive orders, and the city of Rochester mayor has issued several local emergency orders, which together authorize the holding of this hearing virtually. The subject to waivers of certain requirements of the New York State Open Meetings Law and the Rochester Zoning Code. In addition, at a prior meeting, we amended the Planning Commission rules and procedures to allow us to conduct this hearing as authorized by the governor's and mayor's emergency orders, and to waive other requirements that allow us to proceed with this hearing, as I will now describe. Primarily, these waivers involve the requirements for in-person attendance at this hearing. The emergency orders permit us to hold this hearing by teleconference with no in-person attendance, allow applicant presentations and public testimony by teleconference. Written public comments, both in favor of or opposed to the application, to be submitted by email, by hard copy document, mailed to the zoning office, or deposited in the secure drop box located in the permit office of City Hall. The deadline to submit written comments was 5 p.m. on Friday, January 8th, 2021, and the deadline to register to provide spoken comment was 12 noon p.m. today, Monday, January 11th, 2021. Although the conduct of this hearing has been altered and from some of its normal procedures, many remain the same. All normal notifications for this hearing included mail notice, publication, posting of notice were followed. A staff report has been prepared for each application, and a report along with that application and other pertinent documents have been presented to the commission members and posted online several days prior to tonight's meeting. All normal timeframes for the applicant presentations, comments in favor of or opposed to the application remain the same. And most importantly, this commission will hear, review, and make decisions about all the applications with the same diligence and using the same standards as required by the zoning code. Before we begin, I would like to explain the ground rules for the hearing. When a case is called, the applicant will be allowed 15 minutes to present their case to the commission. The applications were all posted on the city website at least 1 week ago and were available for public review. All applicants were advised to ensure that their applications were complete and included all information that they intend to present at this hearing tonight. The application is presented. Staff will be responsible for identifying the possible identity and show the pages of the application that the applicant is addressing in the presentation. Following our normal procedure, the commission members may ask questions of the application. After the applicant's presentation is completed, staff will read into record any public comments that were submitted after the staff report was completed and posted on the city website. First, those in support of the application, then those in opposition. These comments will be limited to 10 minutes if submitted by a neighborhood association and 3 minutes by all other comments. If reading of submitted comments will exceed the time limit, staff will summarize the comments to fit within the time frames. If multiple submissions repeat same comments, staff will summarize those comments. Public comments that were received in time will be included in the staff report, will not be read into the hearing record. Public also has the opportunity to register to speak at the virtual hearing. After the comments have been read, applicants will have 5 minutes to offer testimony in rebuttal. At the conclusion of the applicant's rebuttal testimony, the case will be closed. However, if commission determines that substantially new evidence has been presented by the applicant during the hearing, either during the original or rebuttal testimony, the case may be adjourned and held over to the commission's next announced meeting date in order to give the public an opportunity to review and comment on that new evidence. After completing all the hearings on the agenda tonight, the commission may elect to take a short break, which will be announced. After the hearing and break, if any, the commission will commence deliberation and voting on the applications, except for the applications that may have been adjourned to another meeting date. Please note that if your case is approved today, a written decision will be mailed to you within 15 business days. A decision will inform you of the next steps to complete the process of approval. Before we have the first case, please note that we are all volunteers. I would like each of the commissioners to confirm their presence for the purpose of a roll call and by establishing a quorum for this hearing, and to introduce themselves and to mention the quadrant in which they live. And Carrie, you can start.
Carrie Carroll, Southeast District.
Brad Flowers, South District.
Kim Harding, East District.
Eugenio Marlin, Northwest District.
Milton Pichardo, Northeast District.
Dave Watson, Southwest. Is
Marquis. Yep. Marquis Williams. I believe it's the South area, Southwest, I believe.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. That being said, may we have the first case, Anna?
Case number 1, file number M4 2021. The case type is a zoning map amendment. The address is 84 and 86 South Union Street. The purpose is to amend the zoning map by rezoning the properties located at 84 and 86 South Union Street from R3 high density residential to Center City Base District. This is to facilitate the adaptive reuse of a multifamily dwelling into a hotel. This is an action requiring City Planning Commission recommendation to the Rochester City Council. And I have here that all present commissioners have visited the site.
Okay, and I assume that all the presenters are present.
Yes.
I will now swear you in. Basically, this swearing in is for the record that you will swear to testify. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? You can respond by giving us your name and how you respond.
This is Doug Nicey. I respond in the affirmative, and I can give my address when ready.
Thank you.
Matt Tomlinson, Marathon Engineering. Yes, 39 Cascade Drive, 14614.
Thank you, Matt.
Dawn
Steve.
Williams Fuller.
Thank you, Don.
Steve Cullum, I respond in the affirmative.
Thank you, Steve. And is Dave or Eric?
No, Matt called on behalf of Eric, and Dave won't be joining us.
Oh, okay. So, yep. All right. So we're all set. So you may proceed.
Thank you. Anna, are you able to bring up the PDF we submitted most recently? It's page 42. Yep, that's it. Thank you. And I'll ask Dawn to provide the introduction.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone. I'm Dawn Williams Fuller, one of the owners of 86 and 84 South Union Street. I would like to thank the Planning Commission for taking the time to hear us this evening. I'm joined by our team working on this project, Doug Nicey, Matt Tomlinson, Steve Cullum. I'd like to start by giving a quick owner's statement, and then talking about the impact, the community impact. Our company, Ambassador Union Street LLC, is a small family business. We are 4 siblings who invest and do business together. We acquired the Ambassador in 2010, and we have done business and served the community on South Union Street for the past 10 years. The Ambassador celebrates its 100th anniversary in 2023, so that's coming up soon. It is at end of life, and our company has been working for the past couple of years on a long-term strategy to reinvest in the Ambassador and the neighborhood for the next 100 years. We've done many studies and analyses, and we propose to rehab and renovate the Ambassador to be an upscale hotel. We've done significant due diligence to determine this highest and best use. This project and the reinvestment in the community is an important long-term commitment for us. With regards to community impact, there are 4 key things that I would like to share. It will provide more jobs for our community. We're estimating around 35 permanent and 100 construction jobs. It provides for the adaptive reuse of the 4-story brick building, which is at end of life. It supports the inner loop transformation that has been happening in our neighborhood and supports the city's goal of having a neighborhood to live, work, and play. And most importantly, it supports the city's Rochester 2034 comprehensive plan and its placemaking goals. So to summarize, our goal is to develop a successful, sustainable business that benefits our local community and its visitors. And we look forward to expanding and growing while continuing to serve the community. And we would like to thank you for your consideration. Doug, I'm going to pass it to you.
Thank you. And Anna, I'll ask you to do a page flip as I go through these. So page 2. We're all familiar with the site, but I'll just take a couple of minutes and go through the proposed project. As you visited the site, obviously we're at the 4-story building on the east side of Union Street. The image on the lower left here shows a past aerial image. What you don't see here, of course, is this ever-changing neighborhood that's on the west side of Union Street, which, as was noted in the pre-meeting, is already zoned CCD in its entirety. As we go through this, you'll see that the east side of Union Street is also intended to become entirely zoned downtown district under the Rochester 2034 plan. Next page, please. So just speaking more to the evolving neighborhood here, these images from the top left and top right show massing forms of the buildings that are under construction or proposed on the west side of Union Street. Most significantly, directly across the street from our site is the Hampton Inn that's proposed. So with the lower left image, from the street level, you'll see a building in the Hampton Inn that's over 60 feet tall, a 5-story building, a hotel use, again, directly opposite our site on the other side of the street. You'll also note from a character perspective that the architecture of the buildings on the west side of the street is more contemporary than the existing buildings that are on the east side of the street, which have some strong masonry forms to them. Next image. So the existing building, as we know it, as Dawn said, it's almost 100 years old, which has some opportunities and some challenges. The building needs to be tuck pointed. Some window replacement is required. There are existing exterior fire escapes that we'd like to address to improve egress. And importantly, the front entrance is not accessible because there is a grade change of several feet between the sidewalk and the front of the building. So if that's the way it sits today, we'll go to the next image to show our proposal for the near future. This is the proposed building. What we are doing is rehabilitating the existing building, adaptive reuse, and then in order to provide a few more guest rooms in the total project, to provide 90 total guest rooms, we're providing a small seamless addition on the north side of the existing building in the current location of one of the houses. You'll also see that the entrance and the arrival experiences is incredibly important for any building, any hotel. So as you'll see in a couple of moments, we're addressing the arrival experience of this property at its front door as well. Next image. This is a view looking southeast, and you'll note the townhomes just to the south of our site and the character of the east side of the street, which we're looking to maintain and enhance with really the only modern addition being the canopy that we're providing across our vehicular drop-off. It's important to us to provide the vehicular drop-off off the street so it's safe and convenient for guests and doesn't reduce the pedestrian access along the side of Union Street. And also, this actually provides a great accessibility solution to get to the building, which is shown in the next slide. So on the top left and right, we have the images I showed previously. The plan at the bottom is directly out of the site plan technical documents that we have. And there's a number of lines here, but effectively what we're proposing is an off-street vehicular drop-off underneath the canopy, which can provide accessibility, removes the vehicles off the street, and will also aid in just the vehicular access, arrival, and egress to the parking lot, and then back to traffic. And I'm happy to answer more questions to this if there are any as we proceed. Next plan, next slide. I'll ask Dawn to address this one.
Thank you, Doug. So with regards to tenant, neighborhood, and community engagement, our first priority was communicating to our residents, our tenants, providing them with the project scope and schedule, and also assuring them that their leases would not be impacted by this project. Next, we held meetings with our immediate neighbors, Peter, Steve, and Andrew, and with the Strong Museum. Our goal was to share project information and to seek their input. We appreciate the submitted letter of support from one of our neighbors, Peter Morse, an architect, and I'm going to quote, he says, "This is a very impressive design and adds tremendous value to South Union Street and to the city of Rochester," end quote. With regards to other next steps, we have engaged the Wadsworth Square and C4 neighborhood groups, and we are planning to have presentations with their full group as the project proceeds. Doug, back to you.
Dawn, slide please, Anna. So we recognize that traffic, parking impacts are important to ourselves and our neighbors. Our interest is to provide convenient and safe parking opportunities for our guests when it becomes a hotel. And we recognize that in addition to the surface parking lot that we have, when we have high periods of demand, we will also require off-site, off-street parking. And Anna, do you have that?
Sorry, I'm
Okay.
having technical issues. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
My bad. I'll add a few minutes back to your time.
Thanks. Otherwise, I'll speak faster if you need me to.
I'll add a few minutes left. Okay. We good?
Thanks. Thank you. Thanks very much. So, we recognize that we'll require at some periods of high demand, off-site, off-street parking. So we'll be utilizing valet service to park on our property and beyond. We've spoken with local parking operators, studied local sites. So we believe we have the diligence to be able to address parking for our guests when the hotel opens in 2023. Next slide. Just by way of background, we have the rest of the design team is on the call to answer questions. We've obviously done information for the site plan review and seeker, and if there are questions, we can certainly address those with the team that's online. Next slide. So let's speak a little bit about the rezoning itself. The image on the left shows in red outline the subject site that we're reviewing tonight. And as is noted, is directly across the street from a substantial area of CCDB. However, we are in R3 at the moment, and our request is to increase that CCDB outline to encompass our site. One of the strongest reasons we're looking to do this, and we're asking for your support tonight, is that under the Rochester 2034 Comprehensive Plan and the current zoning alignment program that's going on, you'll see on the right-hand image a diagram right out of the comprehensive plan that shows that the downtown mixed-use district, effectively what CCD will become, will grow to encompass the east side of Union Street. That's the plan as it sits today as we understand it, and from a timing perspective, we understand that's to occur sometime in 2022. We're asking tonight for the rezoning in 2021 so that we can move forward with the design, documentation, site plan review in preparation to develop the project instead of waiting the extra year or so for the city to encompass this area under downtown mixed use. So just be clear, the plan from the city is already to zone this site, to rezone this site over the next year or two. Next slide. So we've studied very closely the criteria as a part of the zoning amendment, and these are all very clear and known to you folks. We've taken them very seriously. So in terms of conforming with the city's comprehensive plan, Rochester 2034, we believe that we've done that with this proposal. The use is a hotel. It's compatible with the conforming uses of the nearby properties directly across the street. We recognize that the neighborhood itself is changing, and we work very hard to maintain the character of the neighborhood with our proposal. We believe the proposed uses are suitable for the properties based on the growth of the neighborhood, the hotel across the street, immediately across the street, and in support of just the general mixed-use development in the area. And working on the technical side under D, we've studied and fully aware that there are suitable and adequate services and infrastructure to support the proposed amendment. Next slide, please. So in summary, we believe we're providing a thoughtful response to Rochester 2034 that will also allow a reinvestment in the building and the site with a complementary use, which will allow the building to be maintained and continue its sustainable success for the years and decades to come. With that, that's our presentation, Anna. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. At this time, are there any questions for the applicant?
I have a few.
Yes, Carrie.
The first is probably the most broad. You could have done this, I believe, under a special permit in the existing zoning. No, not under the special permit or permitted use?
No, hotels are not permitted in the R3.
All right, that cancels that question.
We asked that question too.
Good. Certainly simpler, but
Yeah.
never mind. Second question is, you said that this wouldn't impact existing tenants initially, but can you explain what happens, assuming the zoning is changing and the hotel goes on, what happens to all the folks living there now and in the houses that will be torn down, et cetera?
Sure. Dawn, I'll ask you to address that.
Absolutely. So the way we will do this is we've already communicated to our tenants that sorry, let me take it back. We've already communicated a proposed schedule to our tenants. So we have told them that we are looking to start this project in 2022. So so this year, 21, we'll do all the things that Doug talked about, but come 2022, that's when we would need to shut the building down and do all the other things. So we will manage leases very carefully so that all of the tenant leases line up with our project schedule. So every tenant is aware. As we have new tenants that come into the building, we give them the same communication, have them sign off on it, saying that they got it. So everybody is aware, and we will just actively manage the leases. And in Rochester, it's not hard to do because the bulk of the leasing in Rochester happens in the summer. So, you can almost say, that come September, you're not going to do any more leasing until summer comes or spring comes again. So the answer is focusing on the leasing and making sure that leases and the project schedules align. But we have communicated to everyone.
And I think I answered my third question myself, so I'm good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant?
I just have one. You spoke about how you'd done a number of detailed analyses to determine that this was the highest and best use of the property. Can you speak a little bit to the underlying kind of how you came to that decision for this particular use?
Would you like to take that one?
Sure. So in 2018 and 2019, we worked with Hanlon Architects on multiple scenarios for multifamily residential project. And we established that that was not viable given the project size, the physical site, our business model and scale of operations, the competition and market pricing. So we did, we looked at it many different ways and on different times and at different times, and we just couldn't get it to be feasible. If you look at our site, it's a very irregular shaped site and it just was not feasible.
Okay, and to
Go ahead, Tanya. You'll go ahead.
Me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. And to what extent do you anticipate that the pandemic will affect your timeline for 2022?
So in some ways, the pandemic gives us, in some ways, the pandemic doesn't really affect it because it gives us the time to do what we're doing today. So getting the zoning amendment completed, doing all of the additional due diligence that we need to do.
Yeah.
So it almost gives us time.
And,
Doug, do you want to talk to that better?
Yeah, and to add to that, if we were proposing a very large hotel with a lot of meeting space that would have to be supported by a lot of group business, then we would be more hesitant, I think, about the timing. What we're proposing is just 90 rooms with a very small amount of meeting space that would just support the guests in the hotel to the most effect. And we just believe in the neighborhood, in a new product like this, in this location, we think in the long term would be very successful. And so because of that, we actually believe we can take the reins and make some positive movement in this time, and then be ready when the world returns to occupy the space as a hotel.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions for the applicants?
I actually have a couple more.
Yes, go ahead, Karen.
The first, Ms. Williams-Fuller, you had mentioned something about the building coming up to end of life. So in a worst case
Yes.
scenario, if the zoning code change isn't approved, what happens to the building?
So with regards to end of life, the building is 100 years old and we've had it for the past 10 years. And I've been managing it for 10 years and it gets more and more and more expensive as the building ages to fix things. If you think about it, in the walls, everything in the walls that you cannot see is 100 years old. And so any building, when it starts getting to basically its end of life, you have to think about how do you reinvest in the structure? How do you get into the walls and fix those pipes or remove those pipes that are 100 years old? Yeah.
So it's not so much that the structure is no longer viable, just that the economics don't work anymore.
Right.
Okay.
Doug, you can probably talk a little better to that than me.
Yeah, I'll speak to that. I mean, the building at some point will require a significant reinvestment. And it could either be as a current use, in which case any work that takes place would be, against the competition that's getting built, and a lot of multifamily is being built right now. That's one approach. Or the other approach is another use. We've studied many, and hotel, just given the demand factors that are occurring, and the ability to bring some life to this site on 24/7, just makes an awful amount of sense compared. So that's the approach we're taking.
And that was actually my second question was, there's the large hotel across the street as well. Would you say you're answering the same demand as that other structure, or you have a different audience that you're trying to strive for? Or
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. As a consumer, guests are looking for obviously a clean bed to sleep in. And then beyond that, between rate and experience and location, guests often select those hotels based on whatever their own priorities are. For example, the Hampton Inn across the street, slightly larger, maybe 125 guest rooms or so. What I would say is strong brand and family focused, whereas our hotel is a little smaller, intended to be a more boutique or lifestyle experience, and would be family friendly, but not necessarily family focused. Slightly differentiation. And also we would not try to compete with the large hotels on the river, with many hundreds of rooms that have a lot of group business. We're positioning ourselves to have just a slightly more intimate experience. And in our experience, that's what the guests desire.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions for the applicant? Hearing none. Anna, are there any comments that have come in since the staff report?
There's one comment that's been received since the staff report went out. So as the applicant mentioned in their testimony, there was a letter in support. We included that in the staff report. Now I'm going to read the one letter in opposition that was received.
Okay.
Dave, are you able to time me if I go over 3 minutes?
Yes.
Or I can do it myself.
Oh, okay.
All right. The proposed zoning change for the above properties from R3 to Center City Base to facilitate a hotel approval raises important concerns. Please review the comments below. We greatly enjoy our prized Victorian home at 14 Lafayette. We strongly believe that older structures like the Ambassador show the character and appeal of our city neighborhood. These structures should be preserved whenever possible. In the 1980s, our entire South Union neighborhood was rated highly for preservation by the Landmark Society, and a booklet was published. The proposed zoning district change from R3 to CCDB will legally show this property to be used for almost any use in the future. Unlike any other zoning district, the CCD regulations also require no special approvals or notifications to neighbors for new uses. These reduced restrictions were created to facilitate changes of use in Center City, but should instead require extra scrutiny when a property is adjacent to historic residential areas. Otherwise, applications could be routinely approved in future for bars, live entertainment, and outdoor uses, but without any notice to neighbors. The proposed rezoning to CCDB, unlike with the current zoning and most other zoning districts, would allow any use to operate 24/7 with unlimited hours of operation and without special approval. This would be unacceptable to any area with residential uses next door, easily understood in the cases of bars, restaurants, and entertainment venues. The change to CCDB zoning would mean there would no longer be any off-street parking requirements for intended uses. So even if the hotel use needed obvious parking for guests and employees, once rezoned, hotel management could eliminate it all, leaving parking to catch as catch can on the street. That would be unacceptable. In the reverse, a hotel operator could pursue more off-street parking, such as by demolishing residential structures and shrinking this unique historic area. The Ambassador is a handsome historic building which should not be redeveloped with a new modern facade. If changed to a hotel, maintaining the building's historic character should be a priority and would offer patrons a unique hotel with period charm. Our South Union neighborhood is an important area to be protected. It is historic, it is near Center City, often complimented by visitors and maintained and prized by its residents. It stands to reason that the rezoning ought not to be approved, but instead that the use should be reviewed under its current R3 zoning to ensure appropriate restrictions of its operation and to maintain requirements for off-street parking. We hope that the historic character of this building be maintained should the Landmark Society be consulted before any architecturals are permitted. Changes are permitted. We and our neighbors have invested heavily in this neighborhood and have a Lafayette Neighborhood Association, very generously served by Steve and Jody Venturino. We ask that all quality of life issues be carefully examined, such as for noise impacts, traffic movement, parking, site plans, outdoor uses, and dumpsters. We trust that these words will be read into and made part of the record at the January 11 CPC hearing. Would you please confirm or read? Got it. Okay.
Okay, that was the only one?
That was the only one.
Okay, that being said, the applicant has an opportunity to rebut or provide any additional information before we close the case.
Sure, I'll just take a moment then just to address a couple of those. Regarding the letter and the comments about the historic portion, the Ambassador is a handsome historic building. We absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. That's why we looked for an adaptive reuse on this. The letter points out that the building would be redeveloped with a new modern facade. I want to be clear that that is not our proposal. The existing building facades would remain and be rehabilitated, tuck pointed, windows repaired, and so on. The addition is new but seamless. But the canopy that we have across our driveway, that's a modern addition to it, if that's the point that was addressed. Regarding the parking, I spoke briefly about the strategy. Our interest is to provide parking for our guests, because if the guests have a poor experience along any of their touch points, including parking, they will not return. So it's absolutely key for us to provide a great parking strategy for our employees and our guests. And we believe we've done that. And from a use perspective, the hotel would operate 24/7 as a hotel. But to be clear, we're not proposing any outdoor functions for the hotel. We're not proposing a bar, and we're not proposing entertainment space. So we expect to be and hope to be a good neighbor. And it's the character of the neighborhood, which is a big part of our interest in this site. Thank you. I'm sorry, you're on. No. Still on mute.
I'm sorry, that's my bad. I was asking if Don Fuller has any additional information or wish to respond.
Yes, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone for hearing us. And I'd just like you to know that we've had this building for 10 years. I've managed this building for 10 years. I feel very connected to this building. I walk the halls day in, day out. And so I would not do anything that doesn't honor the building. I've put a lot of my time and my energy and my life already over these past years into honoring this building and taking it from where it was to where it is today. And so we have no intention of doing any dishonor to the building.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. That being said, we will close this case. Anna, we have comments potentially for some of the other upcoming cases. Thank you both, or all
Thank
four
you.
of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tom, do I introduce each case still, or do I only introduce the case we have a public commenter on?
So have you, so the applicants know the situation on each of these?
Yes.
Okay.
The
Yeah, so
public
I
does
think
not.
just going in order, just note on the record that where there's no commenters, just, case number X at whatever address is going to be continued to next month's meeting. And then, just go in order that way until the ones where there is a commenter will just hear their comments and allow that applicant, if they so choose, to respond.
Great, thank you. So as Tom was just mentioning, due to certain defects, the next 5 cases will be held. So case number 2, 105 Hillside Avenue is being held by staff this month and will be heard at the next scheduled hearing, which is February 8th. No comments on this one, so we will not be opening this application at this time and instead reviewing it at 2/8/21. Okay, so the next case is case number 3. This one's also being held by staff and will be heard at February 8th. But we do have some that have signed up to speak on this, so we want to honor their them carving out this time to provide their public testimony. So this is public testimony for case 3, file number E12-2021. The address is 121-125 Park Ave. And the request is to establish a 2,261 square foot restaurant in a portion of the first and second floors of this building. This is an action requiring City Planning Commission approval. So the first person, why don't we start with Adam? Or actually, I believe we have the Neighborhood Association present. So sorry, Adam. John, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself, and we'll give you your 10 minutes.
They have to be sworn in.
Yes. Good catch.
So John Lembach, if you're with us.
Am I unmuted?
Now you're unmuted, yep.
I'm not going to comment at this time. I applied to speak at the hearing before I realized that the case was going to be held until next month.
Okay.
So we reserved comment until then. The same goes for my wife.
Great. Adam, if you would like to comment this month, the chair will swear you in.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. And hey, everyone, how you doing?
Hello, Adam. We'll swear you in. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. And you may proceed.
Great. Just real quick, is the actual developer or the developer of the plan going to respond today to my comments? Are we going to be able to have a discussion?
There will just be as part of the schedule of the hearing, they're just allowed to respond if they so choose for up to 5 minutes. But there's not interchange. It's just a
response.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Well, thanks for allowing me the chance and opportunity to make my comments as to this development right on the corner of our street. So I live at 176 Meg Street, and I'm a live-in landlord for my 2-apartment building. And I do have an investment, as many other live-in landlords do, on this street, and other neighbors who live on Meg Street with us. So we tried to clean up this end of Park Avenue, keep it quiet, respectful, and have a number of, other entertainment facilities that are also on the road that are great and part of our community. So we enjoy them very much so. And along that 1 mile stretch from Alexander Street to about Culver Street, there's above 40 different entertainment locations, bars, restaurants, and areas that people can visit and go to and hang out at, which we see throughout the whole street of Park Avenue as being fruitful for the area and allows for a good community to come around and enjoy our street. So there doesn't seem to be many issues with that. But some of the issues that I've just looked at in terms of wondering who was going to be moving in and creating this restaurant/bar here was trying to find out what past associations or operations they've been a part of. Only through observation, this operation owns Magpie Bar. And through the whole entire pandemic, it seemed to raise some red flags as to their level of cooperation and involvement in the honoring of space and social distancing and practices that should have been in place that did not seem to be well monitored nor attended to. I think that maybe even at times you might find it being documented on social media outlets where that corner in general, Blue Wolf and Magpie and a number of others, did not seem to want to honor that as much. And for that particular item, that does raise a red flag as to what type of operation is moving in on our street and what sort of handling they're going to take care of with their patrons that visit their restaurant or bar. We're not sure if this restaurant or bar is going to kind of mimic that sort of Irish pub style, but that sort of bar or operation also in tandem with their Murphy's Law operation on East Avenue promotes a bit more drinking. I'm 37 years old. I have gone out in my younger days. I have enjoyed myself, but I am not of that age, nor do I see this area as being a party location or... Yes, Anna?
Your time is up. If you don't mind just wrapping it up.
Great. Okay. So we're concerned with the potential crowd that might be coming into this location. We are also concerned with street parking. Street parking is already full for tenants that live all throughout this end of the street. So if there's going to be operations or hours of operations that exist past the 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. hours, then they're going to fight with current parking for tenants. I have off-street parking for my tenants, so I'm not concerned with that, but other operations do not have off-street parking. We are concerned with noise ordinances as to what hours they'll be operating in. And we're also concerned with the potential type of crowds that are brought to these associations that this bar operation owns and having that become a part of this community around here. And then one last item is trash overflow. That building itself does not have a sufficient amount of trash storage for its location, and often we find that other operations put trash out front on Meg Street, and we're just wondering, where is trash going to go on trash days, or if it's overflowing in general. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Anna, anyone else, Anna?
Yep, we have Thomas. Thomas, if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Thomas, let me swear you in.
Okay.
Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, you may proceed, sir.
Okay, hi, I'm Thomas Smalley. I live at 125 Meg Street, just 4 doors down from the proposed new bar that's going in. Let's make it clear that it's a bar that's going in that serves food. The developer owns 4 other bars within a 3/4 mile radius of this bar. He owns Murphy's Law, Turcut's, Magpie, and Half Pint, if I'm not mistaken. These are all Irish pubs. Some serve food, but they are bars that serve food. So we were talking about putting in a bar into this neighborhood. It has no designated parking. So there's no parking for tenants or for employees or for their patrons. So this is going to greatly impact our tenants who live in this residential section of Park Avenue. I am concerned about the building itself because it has no outdoor space at all. The building takes up its entire footprint of the land that it occupies. So there is no place for trash. There is no garbage toters. There is no dumpsters. There's no place to put a grease trap on the outside of this building. So I don't know how you're going to operate a restaurant, a bar in this area if you don't have any of those things. I noticed that on their plans that were posted online that it's going to have a massive reconstruction. So I didn't notice any place on there where it's going to be Americans with Disabilities Act compliant. So are they planning on making that compliant? I noticed that there's a second floor that they're putting in with a staircase coming up from the first floor. Is that going to be accessible for people with disabilities? Is there a fire egress for that second floor? Now, the second floor, I have been told, is a speakeasy. A speakeasy doesn't sound like something for a restaurant. That sounds more like we have more bar. According to Google, the other 4 bars that were mentioned that this developer has, their busiest times of operation are between 10, 11, and 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock being their peak hours at those other bars. We do not need this here. In this neighborhood, if we want to go and seek out Irish food pub atmospheres, we can go less than a half a mile away. 2 blocks away is Half Pint, and 2 blocks away is Murphy's Law. 3 blocks away, we can go to Turcut's. And if we want to go 3/4 mile, a 12-minute brisk walk, we can make it all the way down to Magpie. It's not bringing anything new or different into this neighborhood. And I don't believe within this 1 mile stretch that we need 4 Irish pubs all owned by the same developer. It is not necessary. It is not zoned. And please do not allow this to go forward in our neighborhood. We don't want a business that's going to be open until 2 a.m., 7 days a week in our neighborhood.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anna, anyone else?
Those were the 2 that we have this month, but as we mentioned, this will be on the agenda again on February 8th.
Yes, thank you. And anyone else that will be speaking on any of the other cases?
It looks like the applicant may want the opportunity to rebut.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Randy Peacock. My business address is 70 Linden Oaks, Brighton, New York. Do I need to be sworn in?
Yes.
Yes, I will swear you in, Randy. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed.
I thank Thomas and Adam for their input. I have a feeling that there's a bit of paranoia about this proposal that is unwarranted. Yes, my client John DiPatopoulos owns these other 4 bars. Each one of them is a very unique bar with a very unique culture, most often drawn from very local sources, residents immediately around the bar. The idea of these smaller bars is that they're essentially modeled on an English pub, your local. His intent is to draw people from the immediate area around the location of the bar, and the lack of parking actually promotes that function. It doesn't become a draw from the community in general, but really focuses more on the local area. This particular operation would be done on 2 floors. We're looking at the second floor as smaller gathering rooms. Many tenants live in this area that have smaller apartments. If they want to have a birthday party and have friends over or something of that matter, they can use one of these upstairs rooms. The primary operations will occur on the main floor, though. there was a lot of concern about the trash. And believe me, we wouldn't operate a building here without trash. There is an internal trash room being planned where toters will be kept inside and moved out to the street on a regular, on a nightly basis as pickup is warranted, or maybe 2-3 times a week, depending on the level of trash generated. There is a concern about parking. Parking is not in question here. To be honest with you, we can open the limit here that where if you exceed 650 square feet for this type of operation requires a special permit. I could theoretically open 5 or 6 650 square foot bars in this building without a single parking space being required and without any public hearings or other approval processes. This is an opportunity to have an operator who knows how to operate bars, has operated bars without any public censure over 10 years with Half Pint, 12 years with Magpie. There's been no zoning citations. There's been no health code citations. There's been no liquor authority citations issued for these properties. The question of a grease trap was raised. That goes inside the building. It's not something and property like this that the grease trap is located outside. The type of crowds will be local people, your neighbors. That's the intent, is to provide a local neighborhood gathering place. The city has noise ordinances. This is not going to result in crowds of drunk people walking up and down the streets at all hours of the night. The intent is to have this be local folks there at this restaurant and bar. The operations will be normal bar operations. To be honest with you, Half Pint is usually closed by midnight. Yes, it's busy at that time. There are occasions if there's a game, a football game or something like that, or there's some something going on. But for the most part, that business closes by midnight. They can legally be open till 2, but so could 4 or 5, 650 square foot restaurants in that building be open till 2 in the morning. So parking, trash overflow, I think we've kind of hit most of the concerns that were raised here. This is not intended to be a bar on the scale of Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law is an entertainment area in the city of Rochester. It does draw bigger crowds. It's a larger bar. So it's more of an intense use. This is intended to be a small neighborhood operation that provides a service to people immediately in the area around them. I do want to also mention, Adam had many concerns about the operation of Magpie with COVID restrictions, et cetera. I can assure you that Magpie actually has had on several occasions inspections because neighborhood people have called to complain about Magpie. They've called to complain about the operation of Half Pint. And in both those situations, inspections have been done and the owner has been lauded by the inspector for actually strictly following the COVID restrictions that the state put forth. And it's perhaps the people that are looking at this are not understanding the process or not understanding the restrictions. Those restrictions are being followed and have been approved by the authorities that have been brought to this site by their complaints. I think that kind of hits the most of the points that were raised there. I hope I had opportunity to explain a little bit better for you what's happening with those.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Anna, anyone else?
Not for this case, no.
Okay, so we will maintain these comments and hold them over till the next meeting.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right. Case number 4, file number E13-2021, special permit 235 Alexander Street, a request to establish a restaurant in the carriage house located in the rear of the property to establish outdoor seating for the proposed restaurant and to legalize off-street parking at the property, an action requiring City Planning Commission approval. This item has been held by staff and will be heard at the next scheduled public hearing, which is February 8th, 2021. We do have the neighborhood association that has, oh, it looks like he might have popped up. Okay, so John Lumbuck had registered to speak on this one, but as he stated with the previous one, he might hold that comment to the next hearing. So it appears that at this time, there is no public testimony for this project.
Anna, there's one box on our Hollywood Squares here that's marked public testimony.
Oh,
Is that, I don't know if that's
thank you, thank you,
one
thank
of
you.
ours or not.
Yeah, no, that is, I was looking in the wrong bucket of guests. So, Mr. Lombach, would you like to comment on this one? Hey, John.
I was trying to unmute the thing, a little confusion on the button. Since there was not adequate time to inform the public about the conduct of this application, i.e. no posting of the sign, we have not had a good ability to survey the neighborhood as to the wisdom of this particular project. So we're going to reserve comment until next month. By the way, I have driven by that place nearly every day for the last month until reviewing the cases 2 days ago. I was not aware that there wasn't any sign out there at any time. I surely would have noticed that because I've been paying attention to the for rent sign out there and the oversized for lease sign as well. Thank you.
Yep, thank you, John.
The applicant is present, so if they would like, they may rebut any comment. And then if they choose not to, we'll hear the entirety of their application at next month's hearing.
I'll withhold comment until the next hearing.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next case, Anna.
Okay, so case number 5, E14 2021, 143, 147 Webster Ave, a request to establish a 16-space ancillary parking lot to serve the daycare center at Caring and Sharing Child Care Center located at 8690 Webster Ave, an action requiring City Planning Commission approval. This item has been held at the request of staff and will be heard at the February 8th, 2021 hearing. Next, we have case number 6, file number E15 2021, a special permit. The address is 385 East Ridge Road. The request is to establish a residential care facility, Catholic Family Center, at the proposed newly constructed building on the parcel, an action requiring City Planning Commission approval. As with the previous 4 cases, this one is being held at the request of staff and will be heard at the February 8th, 2021 hearing.
Okay, so that concludes the agenda for this evening. So we will, is there anyone else that is wanting to speak?
Nope.
Nope, okay. So we will close this hearing and we will, I think we'll adjourn for 10 minutes. We'll come back at 7:15 for deliberation and we'll start with case number 1 and hopefully end up with that. So this case is closed, this hearing is closed. Thank you.